The first wave of NFL free agency has come to an end, and the Denver Broncos have received some promising news regarding their salary cap management. While there's been some debate around quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and whether he'll succeed or struggle in Denver, and even questions about the signing of tight end Evan Engram, was he really the Broncos' first choice? There's a lot to unpack here. First off, some huge news hit the airwaves today that impacts the league in a big way. Derek Stingley Jr., the talented cornerback from Houston, just signed a record-breaking deal. While Stingley has shown himself to be a solid player, he's not yet in the same conversation as Broncos cornerback Pat Surtain II. But despite that, Stingley landed a massive $90 million deal, making him the highest-paid cornerback in the NFL with a $30 million annual salary. This is fantastic news for the Broncos, as it shows just how good they are at navigating the salary cap. Why? Because Pat Surtain II, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL, is currently making $6 million less per year than Stingley. That's a win for Denver's front office, led by George Paton and the ownership group, who have been able to lock in their players at favorable deals early on. This ability to save money now, thanks to Surtain's contract, could allow the Broncos to make smart moves with other key players down the road, such as linebacker Jonathan Cooper, wide receiver Courtland Sutton, or defensive lineman Zach Allen. This is exactly what happens when a team is able to make calculated decisions that pay off. Compare that with teams like the Dallas Cowboys, who have been kicking the salary cap can down the road, hoping it'll somehow work out. The Broncos' approach is a textbook example of how to manage a roster and cap space effectively. Now let's dive into the latest deals that have gone down across the league. Another reason why the Broncos' cap management is so impressive is the timing of their deals. Take a look at the next cornerback who's set to receive a huge payday, Trent McDuffie, the solid cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. While McDuffie is a decent player, it's worth noting that Courtland Sutton has had his way with him in past matchups, completely dominating him on the field. McDuffie is now approaching a contract extension, and Chiefs fans are starting to get anxious. They didn't lock him up early, and now they're looking at a tough situation, with many wondering why they didn't act sooner. Some even took to Twitter to vent their frustration, and it's clear they're not happy with their front office's delay. Meanwhile, Broncos fans have a good reason to smile. Pat Surtain II, widely regarded as the top cornerback in the league, is making $6 million less per year than Stingley, who just reset the cornerback market. That's a massive win for Denver. Surtain's value is unmatched, and yet he's being paid far less than others who are not in his league. This is a prime example of how well the Broncos have handled their salary cap. In fact, some NFL observers, like a tweet from a fan named S. Binger, are calling this a highway robbery because Surtain is clearly the best in the game, and the Broncos are paying him significantly less than lesser players like Stingley and J.C. Horn. This is a major win for the team, and it shows just how savvy the Broncos have been in their cap management. However, not everything is smooth sailing in the world of Denver football. There's been some controversy around the signing of safety Talanoa Hufanga. Some articles, including one from Sports Illustrated, have raised concerns, questioning whether the Broncos overpaid for Hufanga or if his injury history makes him too risky. Critics are pointing out his past injuries, but it's important to understand that they weren't connected in any way. A concussion, a knee injury, and a wrist issue are not necessarily indicators of a long-term health problem. Hufanga has shown great potential, and the injuries he's dealt with don't appear to be related. It seems like a knee-jerk reaction from those who haven't done their homework or are using automated tools to create content without truly diving into the details. This situation is different from what we saw with Greg Dish, whose injuries were interconnected and ultimately prevented him from returning to his full potential. The Broncos' decision to take a chance on Talanoa Hufanga is a calculated one, and with the team's revamped approach to player recovery, I have full confidence in the move. Under the guidance of head trainer Bo Lowry and the leadership of head coach Sean Payton, the Broncos have become one of the least injured teams in the league. The team focuses heavily on preparation, including playing preseason games to get everyone ready for the season ahead. Hufanga's evaluation by the Broncos' medical staff, who cleared him, shows that the team has confidence in his ability to stay healthy, But even if he does miss time, the Broncos are in a strong position. PJ Locke, who filled in admirably last season, is more than capable of stepping up. Locke started last year and performed well in the playoffs, even helping the team stay neck and neck with Buffalo at halftime in one game. So while Hufanga is an exciting addition, the team has solid depth in case things don't go perfectly. Beyond Hufanga, there's another major positive in the form of Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw was reportedly considering a similar contract with the San Francisco 49ers, but ultimately chose to join the Broncos. The big reason? He's good friends with Hufanga. Greenlaw wanted to be in the same locker room as his friend, and that's a big win for Denver. Even if Hufanga does face injury issues, the addition of Greenlaw helps bolster the defense. It's a fantastic piece of business for the Broncos, and this move is already being praised by many analysts. In fact, Denver is receiving higher grades for their free agency moves than most other teams, a clear sign that they're on the right track. However, there's some controversy surrounding the tight end market. Juwan Johnson, the talented tight end from the New Orleans Saints, recently revealed that both the Broncos and the Seahawks were aggressively pursuing him in free agency. This has added a bit of drama to the tight end situation, as both teams were clearly trying to add depth at the position. Juwan Johnson ultimately decided to stay with the New Orleans Saints after a conversation with offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, which left many fans in Broncos country wondering if he was Denver's top choice. In my opinion, that wasn't the case. Both Sean Payton and George Payton are known for making every player they speak to feel like the most important person in the room. It's a testament to how well they manage their recruitment efforts. Juwan Johnson may have felt like he was the Broncos' number one option, but that's just part of the magic of Payton and Payton. They make you feel wanted, which is a big reason why players are drawn to the Broncos. In reality, I believe Johnson was more of a backup plan. If the Broncos couldn't convince Evan Engram to sign, then Johnson would have been the next option. Here's the thing. The Broncos actually had Engram in the building before free agency even started. He was released from his previous team and didn't have to wait for the official tampering period to open. Engram was in Denver the night before free agency kicked off, meeting with the coaching staff and spending time with the team. It wasn't until after that that the Broncos started talking to Johnson. So while Johnson may have felt like the top guy, the reality is he was probably plan B. For me, Engram was always the top priority. Watching him on tape, you can see why. Johnson, for all his skill, just doesn't have the route running precision that Engram does. Engram is a matchup nightmare, running crisp routes and showcasing incredible agility. And let's not forget, just 2 years ago, Engram set an NFL record with 114 receptions in a single season. That's the kind of production we're getting from him, which is even more impressive when you consider the quarterbacks he's played with, like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. With Engram on the roster, the Broncos have a huge weapon on their hands. I'm confident this is a decision that will age like fine wine, and Denver is going to see huge dividends. Also, how cool is it that Engram is rocking the number 1? It's rare to see a tight end wear that number, and I think it looks pretty sharp. If anyone remembers a tight end who wore number 1 before, drop it in the comments. It's also exciting to see Bo Nix embracing the Denver culture. It's clear he's a man of the people, and his presence at a Nuggets game courtside, followed by being ringside or ice side depending on how you phrase it, shows how deeply he's invested in this city. I love that he's out there supporting the local teams, and seeing him with Cortland Sutton and other key players just feels like the beginning of something special in Denver. Nix rocking the number 10 jersey is already becoming a fan favorite, and it's great to see someone genuinely embracing the city like he has. This is in stark contrast to what we saw with Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. Those guys tried to make big moves before proving anything on the field. They were already showing up courtside and ringside before they'd actually earned the respect of the fans or their teammates. Bo Nix, on the other hand, has taken the right approach. He's earned the job, earned the captaincy, and put in the work on the field. He's not just showing up to take a victory lap, he's earned the respect of the locker room first. Now he's a true leader for this team and already a fan favorite in Denver. In terms of team performance, another interesting thing to note is the approach the Cincinnati Bengals are taking with their salary cap. They're paying a huge portion of their cap to just 3 offensive players, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Together they account for about 45% of the Bengals' salary cap. While it's clear these guys are talented, this strategy could come back to haunt them. Defense wins championships, and when you've allocated so much of your resources to a few players, it limits your ability to build a strong defense. What's more, with the injury concerns surrounding players like Higgins and Burrow, there's a real risk of those investments not paying off. The Bengals might be a playoff contender, but I believe their chances have taken a hit because of this cap management strategy. Meanwhile, the Broncos have focused on strengthening their defense this offseason, and that's where I think they have the edge over teams like the Bengals. Denver's defense was already a strength, and by adding players like Evan Engram, the Broncos are setting themselves up for success in a way that balances both offense and defense.